Hi, my name is Sonia, and I have decided to make this series of videos to document my journey that I went on recently in my ancestry study to uncover, surprisingly, a Romani ancestry. And I got some ideas from some friends and some people that I've met along the way to talk about this journey, how this discovery has influenced me or made me feel, and how I just how I discovered this, so that if other people are maybe on a similar path, maybe this could be a resource. And if not, then maybe the feelings that I've experienced, probably, basically my entire life, can resonate with other people who struggle with fitting in, who feel like an outsider. So the series of videos is primarily going to be about that discovery and like how it happened and how I figured it out, all of those things. I want to start, though, in this video with a little bit of background information, a little bit of the why did I end up on this path to begin with. So where it starts actually is basically now, I'm living here in Austin, Texas, and I'm an artist. And through the different types of art that I do, I've had the opportunity to engage with a lot of different cultures. And yet, one thing that has always been a challenge for me is not really knowing where I fit. What is my culture? Do I have one? And the answer to this question wasn't really simple. So this all started when I was very young, and we're going to go back to a young me. I grew up in a small town, and I was a transplant from another part of Texas into this small town where some families had lived for generations. And that's hard enough as it is. You already feel like an outsider in that situation. And to complicate matters, I was a small kid. I'm still small, and I have very light skin, and that presented its own challenges. And I had a Hispanic last name. So at my young age, growing up in Texas, I honestly was a little confused. Why did I have this Spanish last name and this really light skin? And other people in my family had light skin, but some of them also had dark skin, and I just really wasn't sure what that meant for me. And I noticed, some of my classmates were also kind of confused, and that led to some confusing questions and confusing comments. And I realized that I didn't have the answers or even an understanding of why the questions were there. And so I just knew that apparently something about me was off or wrong, like something didn't make sense. I wasn't what I was supposed to be, according to me and the people around me and society. I don't know, but I guess at a very young age started to feel confused about my identity, especially in terms of ethnicity and culture. So these patterns continued well into my adulthood, basically until I got married. Now that I'm married, I have a Scottish last name, and not surprisingly to me, not a single person looks at me with confusion or curiosity even. It's just oh, yeah, that makes sense, or whatever. Not even worth commenting on, not even worth blinking an eye at, And looking back, I actually kind of prefer the name, not that I'm going to change it, but I prefer that my name got conversations started. And there was a curiosity there, because there is a story to be told. And so anyway, that just is interesting because that kind of attention used to make me really uncomfortable. So anyway, the result of all of this is that I started to get really interested in all of my heritage. I fell in love with studying cultures and heritage and family trees and how all of those things function within this world and society, and like what place does culture have in our lives, what place does ethnicity have in our lives. And I'm really glad that life took me down this path. I really value the time that I've spent researching my ancestry and getting to know about cultures I wouldn't have come across, I wouldn't have known if I hadn't been looking down all of these avenues to figure out my own heritage. So now to talk about, this series of videos, like I said, this led to a really unexpected and yet somehow very logical discovery that made a lot of sense to me. It made a lot of sense to some other people in my family as well. Ended up figuring out that one part of my family has Romani roots, specifically the Romanishile. I'm actually not completely sure how to pronounce it. I need to go look that up. But what it is it's the Romani people who were among the first wave of Romani people to migrate from England to Norway at a time when England was persecuting and there wasn't a time when the Romani people weren't being persecuted, but they were specifically deporting the Romani people out of England. And so one place where those people ended up was in Norway. So they're the ancestors, or they're the descendants of the Romanishile group in England. And so there's a second wave of Romani people that came in after the 1940s, and they're sort of a different group. Anyway, so that process uncovered a story about survival and resilience, and it's woven through a story about my family, who was a family that worked itself into like the fabric of Norway's elite family systems, and did so while maintaining their skills and their loyalty and all of those things, but also maintaining this level of privacy and secrets. And so I wanted to document this not only for my family, who I hope to pass this knowledge on to, so the generations after us will know who they are and where they've come from, because I don't know, but for me, that is so important, because you can see how these personality traits and these values that our family has didn't just come from one generation. They've come from hundreds of years of generations, and that is so deeply ingrained. And now I know why, So anyway, so I want to document that for them. And again, I know that I'm not alone in this journey. I've made some really great friends through all of this process, and kindred spirits and all of those things. And so if my story can help other people reconnect with their ancestry as well, then I want to do that. So that's why I'm making these videos. And this is the end of video number 1. I will be making some more. Thanks.